by doing that decoupling and owning that next property, option A, where husband stay, wife go and buy the next property, they actually pay lesser. So next, we need to talk about decoupling from one home to two homes, from two names to owning one names. All right, that may sound a bit confusing, but just look at the title here, from one homes to two homes. All right, so I'll be playing a bit of quick recap on the last masterclass, since most of you has basically attended my masterclass previously. The last masterclass, we share a bit on how to decouple by way of concept. So I have actually chopped them up into bite size on a quick recap of what Cannis has mentioned in the last masterclass and how does it look like in terms of application. Because knowing concept is one thing, knowing how to apply it in terms of execution is another thing. All right, so I'll be showing you how to do that. So this is a quick conversation with Cannis, and do pay extra attention to it so we know how to apply it in the numbers and of course processes in the very next slide. All right, enjoy this clip.
Okay, so for decoupling, okay, just share one of the stories lah. Okay, one of the greatest shocks that we received was when one of my clients wrote into IRAS, okay, and say that, look, I want to decouple my property. What is the stamp duty that's payable, okay, or on this, okay? And then IRAS basically gave them that particular IRAS officer, okay, gave them a computation of, okay, because the property that you own, it's wrong, by the way. I just emphasize this. Okay, what I'm going to say is flat out wrong, okay? But unfortunately, this was repeated by IRAS officer at that one time. Okay, so what you do is this, okay, which is wrong, okay? You already own, okay, your half share in this property. So when you buy over your spouse or your partner's other half share in this property, what you do is that you count additional buyer stamp duty on the purchase of the half share. So when I heard this, I was like, no, that's wrong. Okay. So, but then my client was, but this is the reply from the IRAS officer. Okay. So we managed to sort it all out in the end. So clearly that was wrong. And how IRAS views it is that unless you have another property that you own currently under your own name, okay, if not, when you do this part share, when you do this decoupling, when you buy over the half share of this property, you only just pay buyer stamp duty, okay, be it on your first property, be it as a PR, okay, or be it as a Singapore citizen, okay. So the concept of part share is obviously very tied into the concept of freeing up a name, okay, to fund the new property purchase, okay. And just to share another aside, okay, even this concept of decoupling of part share, okay, for I think 5 years, okay, IRAS was sort of like, is this actually a loophole, okay, or not? Before, like, I believe like 2 or 3 years ago, they sort of like came out finally in the open and said that to us, the conveyancing lawyers, during one of the conveyancing law conferences, and said that, look, part share is okay, okay? We're absolutely okay with people, with your clients decoupling, even though they have been doing this for the past 5 years, you know, we are of the view that it is okay. It's not, you know, portrayed as any sort of tax evasion or whatnot. So, yeah, so I mean, IRAS is a little slow in coming to all of these decisions. But what I want to emphasize is that they are never, generally speaking, today, okay, they're never retrospective, okay, in what they do, okay. So it takes a while for them to come out, okay, to tell us as the lawyers what is their official position on a lot of things, okay. And but generally when they do, okay, it just follows through. The only one who gets a heart attack from all of this is your lawyer, okay, not you, okay. So for all of this decoupling, okay, for all of these trust transactions, all of this are something that IRAS have come out to say that it's fine, carry on, go ahead, okay. So once again, before I took this little detour, for part share, it's all about freeing up a name so that you can fund the purchase of a new property without paying additional buyer stamp duty.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, so you can hear from Cannis himself. He mentioned that even IRAS made a mistake, right, the officer, and that really gives a heart attack to everyone. I'm sure that the broker that actually advocated for that decoupling, or if they have done it, given Cannis' experiences just shared, will probably have sleepless night, so to speak. Okay, but in a nutshell, what we saw here is that the basis of decoupling, first thing first, is freeing up one name to purchase another without that additional buyer stamp duty obligation. In today's context, if you're buying with ABSD, Singaporeans got to pay 17% on top of their basic 4%. That means all in all, you're paying 21%. Okay, so and that has been adjusted recently, just December last year. All right, and decoupling is legitimate, so it is not something that people come up with trying to avoid stamp duty, etc. IRAS themselves has already basically give the green light that this is okay to do. Okay, so next we then talk about how does it work, decoupling. Some people call it decoupling, some people call it fractional purchase, where you're purchasing a fraction of the property percentage, and some people call it part share, all right, or part purchase, all right. So these three words are all the same, just to share with you. And next thing we then talk about transfer. The basis of here is transferring ownership of a property with A and B to just A, for example, and then B go and buy something else. And then A must also be able to take over the loan, because A will be the only sole owner in this point in time. And back then, we talk about people who are doing decoupling. Most of them are owning the property by way of 50-50 share. So they have to take over the entire 50%, purchase by way of cash, CPF, or if not, sometimes by loan as well. Okay. Then the cost involved here, there will be a legal fees. It will be 5,500 averagely from Cannis. So how does it work? When you buy over that share, you are having your own lawyers as well. That is one conveyancing so-called action itself. Okay, and that is around $3,000. But when you sell, because the leaving party will need to sell, that itself will need to be represented by another lawyer, and that lawyer fee will be about $2,500. So all in all, that decouple process in terms of conveyancing is $5,500. Okay, and there will be stamp duties payable also, up to 4% of half the property value, because we talk about the nature of owning in 50%, right? So if it's 50% of $1 million, that means the property value is $1 million, you will need to pay 3% stamp duty of $500,000. That's what it means. Okay, so we will then have a cost saving of 17% ABSD, and that's a lot of money. All right, so we talk about $1 million, you're paying 170,000 more to IRAS. Okay, so a case study here using some existing so-called position or profile to share with you. So that is where it gets a bit heavy. So we talk about Mr. here, age 51, basically earning about 10K salary, he's employed, and very commonly they have car installment. The guy will usually be the one that owns the car with the obligation as well. So his liability here is $900 for a car installment, and current existing ordinary account has $150,000. Okay, and then his missus is 43 years old, earning $8,000 a month with zero liability, existing ordinary account of $110,000. So we talk about the current market valuation of their property right now is 1.5 million. They definitely bought way cheaper than less than $1 million. All right, and with that, we talk about outstanding loan of this existing property is 700,000. So when we talk about part purchase, right, or if not, we talk about debt decoupling. If the share is owning in 50-50 joint tenancy, we will split the obligation as well, or the liability. So in this instance, the obligation or liability here is the outstanding loan of 700,000. We will split it into each person owning that 350,000 outstanding loan. Okay, and with that, we talk about Mr. is able to still hold his 350,000 loan by way of repricing. So what it means is that the 700,000 loan, half is his, the next half he has to buy over. When he buy over, he don't buy over the 350,000, he buy over the 750,000 here, which is 50% of the property value. Okay, so just follow my cursor as we go, so you can be aligned with where I am processing these numbers with you. Okay, so on his own share, how come he can borrow up to 24 years? You thought that banks only lends someone 65 years, right? Minus their age. So in this instance, just to share with you, if you are doing a repricing, Okay, that means you're not buying something with a brand new loan. The bank is able to give you a loan up to 75 years minus your age. So in this instance, he's 51 years old. 75 minus his age will then give him 24. So his existing 350,000 is able to stretch up to 24 years loan tenure, and he's only paying $1,400 a month on his existing share. But he will need to take over that 50%, right? So 50% share of that is 750,000. And the bank only lends him 75% of the purchase of 50%. So what it means is he can only take 75% loan of 750,000. Okay, and that works out to be 562,500. All right. And in this instance, because you're buying over, it's a brand new loan, the bank can only lend you 65 minus your age. So in this instance, again, because it's 51, 65 minus 51 is 14 years. And even so with that, we are talking about a monthly repayment of $3,700 that he needs to service the buy over share. And then the total loan that he take over would be 350, which is his existing loan size that he shared 50-50 with his wife previously. And the new loan, which is 562.5 thousand, okay, adding together to give you that 917,000 loan size. And adding that to repayment, he's paying $5,100 a month right now when he do this decoupling. Okay. So next, we then talk about what if Mrs. were to take over instead. How does it look like? Because in this illustration, we want to assess who should stay in this decoupling property and who should be buying the next one. Because we need to assess first before we could advocate who to stay, who to go. So in this instance, we talk about repricing. Okay, again, 50% of the share loan. So that will be 350,000. And because the wife is 43 years old, she can actually have 75 minus her age, which is 32 years here. And with that, the money installment dropped by around $200 over. Okay. And the next property, because she's young, 43, not say the next property, the next 50% share she's buying over, she's able to take up to 22 years tenure. So with that $562,500 that we see here, which is the same loan size that we mentioned just now, she only needs to pay $2,500. So over here, we talk about the repayment drop drastically to $3,648. So that is effectively almost $1,500 or so, just by choosing the wife to stay in this existing property. So next, we then talk about that new property purchase. Let's say both are looking at a buy price of $956,000 only. And with that, if Mr. were to buy the next property, we'll be looking at monthly installment of $7,700 per month for the new property. And the new loan will be 75%, which works out to be $717,000 of the purchase price. Okay. But if Mrs. were to go for it, Mrs. new installment will be $3,190 per month, and the loan is $717,000 as well. And with that, we are looking at a monthly repayment of $3,190. So that is a drop in half, because the tenure that you see here, one is 14 years, one is 22 years, and that is almost double. All right, so the wife can almost take double the loan tenure. So my question here is, given this scenario, who should stay and who should go? If you don't have answer, it's okay as well, because I'm going to be showing you the next screen where we talk about how does it look like, who stay, who go. Okay, so I already give you the answer. So for example, if the husband were to say, the wife were to go and buy the next property, the combination here is $8,290. Okay, because the wife tenure is lesser for the next buying property, and that differential is double the amount. One is 7,000 plus, one is 3,000 plus. Whereas when we talk about if the wife were to go and the husband were to buy the next one, even though they save on the existing so-called property by $3,000 over, basically the overall commitment here will go up to $11,348. All right. So over here, very clearly, with this simple assessment I just run through with you, likely the husband and wife will go for option A, because by doing that decoupling and owning that next property, option A, where husband stay, wife go and buy the next property, they actually pay lesser at $8,290 monthly repayment. Whereas if they will go for option B, where wife stay and husband buy the next property, they will have to come out a monthly obligation of $11,348 for their monthly repayment. Okay, so with this, we will know that basically the options option A makes sense. All right, and this is how we do by way of structuring and assessment. And many times, many people don't really go into this context with their client because they just tell them, okay, you just go this and this kind of already. But for me, I want you to understand, at least you can also understand if you want to make this move for yourself, how does it look like? Okay, so next we then talk about debt saving. How much do you actually save? So if you were to talk about 956,000 over here as a new property, if you were to acquire one more, that means husband and wife decided not to decouple and just buy the next one at 956,000, your ABSD is actually 147,000 more. And this works out to be that 17% of what that ABSD is for Singaporean second property. Okay.